I was born in Munich and my parents moved to Austria. And I started my studies with architecture and finished them in Zurich. After that I worked in several offices with the main issue of environmental architecture. That was always my main interest. Then in a long phase I was also doing conventional site management, and I was suffering a lot. And then in the end I decided to make my own office, and I'm not successfully enough, so I'm employed with an office that makes mainly these assessments. So to do these assessments in Austria, one doesn't have to have a special education. That is one point that I want to mention. But in my case, I was interested to go deeper into the field, because in environmental architecture and environmental building, there is always the problem: how should the constructions be built without any damage in the course of the years? So I made an additional education, actually four additional educations, which are going into the details of the problems. First, there was that I was making the civil engineering education, so I'm an architect. In Austria there is a strict limitation who is allowed to call himself architect. Then I made the master constructor. That's also something in Austria that's special compared to Germany, for instance. There this kind of education doesn't exist, but it goes more deeper into the law and the details of construction. Then I made another education concerning the environmental and energy issues in the field of construction. And finally I made this education for energy assessments. That means that goes more into detail of the heating and the air and water systems. So I wanted to know more about these things in detail, because in all the other educations there was not enough, in my opinion. And here in Styria, in Carinthia, this kind of education is very developed. And here in Styria, this kind of education for mainly domestic assessments was started for whole of Austria. But until now it's only established in Styria and Carinthia. In this kind of system with a database where all these assessments have to be uploaded if there is a new building or if somebody wants some money for renovation, supported by the Austrian government. So that's, from my point of view, what I've done to get more into the details of the energy assessment. Now I want to go into the personal experience area. Actually, there are three kinds of energy assessments in the domestic area. That is, if somebody has a building, wants to rent or sell it, then there is the law that there has to be an energy assessment and a document that says how is the energy performance of this building, respective building. That was an idea that was coming out of the idea to save more energy and to make the world less polluted by the domestic heating waste, let's say. No? So actually all over Europe this is the law is made for all Europe. And all the countries in Europe, they have to make a system to apply this law. And So this is the one kind. If I have a building I want to sell or rent it, I have to have this. Then the second kind is, if I want to build a new house, or I want to renovate a house in a certain amount, more than just, if it's more than just a very little part, then I can go to the government and say, I want your support financially. And then I also have to have an energy assessment for this kind of purpose, unless I don't want this money. I have to get this money. And the third is, if there are larger buildings that are only made for, only used for dwelling, there are still different kind of laws that makes it possible to get this support from the government. So, and the challenge that I face is in the field where I give the opportunity to the ones who come to our office or to me who want this government money. And there the tendency is that the people who give the contract, they want to cheat. And this is really hard for me to take, because my idea of life is to not cheat. And I face major problems until the point where my boss was saying, no, I cannot use you anymore because he was too strict. You have to adjust. So he fired me and he said, no, we cannot work together because you have to adjust. And then I was quite down because I thought I had done the right thing. And I was happy that it ended like that, because to be strict and correct is, in my opinion, a good thing. And then I asked him, are you really serious? Because there was a really big discussion, and both of us were quite excited. And he said, okay, no, let's continue. So it was more emotional. But what I want to say is that this is a big problem. And I don't know what kind of experience you have in your own practice, but at least in Austria, in the field of construction, the cheating is everyday practice, not only in the energy assessment area. Then another point is that there is a certain kind of price for these energy assessment contracts. And in the last period, these prices have gone down a lot, because there's a possibility to reduce the work to make this energy assessment to a very low level, and it's also okay with the law. And if I have a high standard on the quality of this paper, I need more time. So this is another point that is quite daily challenge, because we have quite a high standard in the quality of our papers, and I've seen many papers that came to our office that were really wrong. They did not give the right answer to what has to be done. So there is a lot of low quality around here in Austria, and there is also, as I said, there is no law that somebody has to have a special education to make this paper. For instance, all the master constructors are allowed to do this, all the civil engineers are allowed to do this, but it's not a special education. It's just the legal base to be allowed to do that. And there's a third group who are allowed to, it's engineers. They just have to open an office and they can also do that. So, in the point in what I think in this kind of discussion is important is that somebody, like me, let's say, because I'm not for nothing, what's his name again?
Coleman.
Mr. Coleman came to me and asked me to talk to you because maybe that is the role that is important in the whole field. And that means that people with a high standard of morality should talk and should say, come on, it's important that we do that thing right. Because otherwise it doesn't make sense. The whole law and nothing makes sense. If the whole thing is just built on cheating and then that what was wanted in the Kyoto Protocol that cannot be applied. So, and now this is the one thing, the energy assessment. And the other thing is why you are here, because Mr. Coleman said you are all in the direction of interest. How can a building be built environmentally less polluting, less damaging? And here this house is called Austerbau Biologie, and all of the architects and people who take care of the heating system and people who have interest in how are the other energies in the globe. That means there are lines of energy, and there's also specialists here. So our interest is to make a building as little environmentally polluting as possible. And if you take this room here, you can look here already. What is the difference in comparison to a normal room, a conventional room? So there are some main things that I can show you here. And do you have any questions in this? Because I want to go to this field now. But now I have told you about the energy assessment and the challenges. Do you have any questions in this regard? Yeah.
How long takes an average energy assessment of a one-family house with, say, 4 people detached?
How long do I need to finish that?
Yeah. To go there, to do it, write it, do the report, do the EPC.
So it's like 4 to 5 hours.
So including traveling there, making the measurements, going back, calculations.
It depends, of course, how far is away. But let's say it's half an hour drive, 1 hour there is 2 hours, and for the assessment it's 2.5 hours, and maybe five and a half, because I have to make all this writing and back office stuff. So average like this.
Okay.
4 to 6 hours, let's say. And it depends very much how complicated it is, because many times the people, they start to build a house and they have a basement and it's not heated. Yeah? And later they start to use the basement and they heat the basement. So let's say half the basement is heated. Then many times in the roof area it's also it's more complicated, and then it's much more work. Then it's 1.5 hours more work if the roof or the basement is more complicated. If it's just a box, then I can also finish this in this. There's nothing done yet. That's a 1960 house. Then I finished in 3/4 of an hour, because I have all the parts of the house already ready made. Because 1960 that was a standard, and I put them inside. I put the measurement of the house, and then I finished very quickly. But that's quite rare.
Sorry, one question. Do you use any calculation tools?
Yeah.
Software tools?
Yeah. There are 5 main companies who provide this kind of program. There's a special program that has to be used. Also by law. I have to buy this software. No, it's not true. There's one excellent software that I can also use, and that was also made by the government, by one person. But it's very complicated. It doesn't pay off. It lasts too long. And if I use this kind of software, of course I'm more quick.
What's the average price for that one family house?
Yeah, now it's difficult to say because the prices have gone so much down that sometimes we start with 190 euros.
190.
90, yeah. And in the beginning, it was no problem to start with 300. Yeah. Now, because many companies, they make it so rational, either by reducing the quality or by just making it wrong, actually. The result, you just take the building, this kind of building from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and they make one click and it's, let's say, that can be done. And yes, I can also say that is why that is possible. Because if I have a building and I want to sell or rent it, I don't have to prove that what I've done is correct. Only I have to prove if I get some government money. Then there is this database, but not in all countries. Not in all, what is that called?
Regions.
Länder.
Counties.
Counties. Not in all counties of Austria it's controlled. That's also one point that there's no much moral included. No much moral high standard. So, yeah. And sometimes it's more complicated and we have to go far and we can get some more money, but many times we have to do that for 280. And it's really difficult because the calculation says that we have to have a price for the hour with 85 euros. And then when I told you that it lasts 5 hours, we get nothing out of such a project. So, of course, we try to get other projects where there is more calculation necessary and the people, they are ready to pay because they get money. That's also the reason why there's a lot of cheating going on. Because people try to get more money from the government. That's a big challenge. Yeah.
But database, this is the Zeus database.
Zeus is called, yeah. In Austria, in Styria and Carinthia.
And also for Salzburg?
And Salzburg, yeah, okay.
And I would also have one question because when we are searching for the application of energy assessors, this standardized training is pretty popular and prominent, but it's not legally binding.
Exactly.
Okay, but usually people have this qualification?
No,
usually not. Okay, it's a special case.
Now they're in Styria, this group, I made this specification that you were talking about just now. And in Styria, there are just, when I get the email, 40, I think.
Okay.
40 who have that because it's very expensive and it costs 3,500 euros or more.
Yeah.
And not many people are ready to do that because they don't have to. Actually, the goal is to have it legally binding because that would improve the quality of the whole work. But,
How many days is the training?
Okay.
How many days is the training, roughly?
Well, there is 2 parts. The first part, and there is, I remember, is 1 week, including the work at home with learning. And but not possibly 1 week is a huge amount. I need 3 weeks or so. And the second part is around the whole time put in one box. It's only 3 weeks, I think, but it lasts, in my case, also lasts 6 months because I had to make 10 projects, practical projects with consulting and a huge work, like a master thesis or so. Of course not compared to the studies, but I made a huge effort because I'm so interested in that, and I was eager to do that right. And yeah, let's say 4 weeks just in the paper, but much more to do at home because there are 1,500 pages to learn, or at least to read and try to learn. And I was the only one who was reading all of them because it was not possible. Working at the same time is really hard. And but it's a very good in Austria here. Austria, and it was made for Austria, and the goal is to make it legally binding. It's very high standard quality, the highest I had. Oh, okay, in civil it was also very high, the standard, but civil engineering, the standard was not so high. Okay, Baumaster was also very high, and the ecological, well, okay, cannot say that these others, but the standard was not so high, in my opinion, for the civil engineering, because all who go there, they have already studied the architecture, and it's not so difficult. And yes, any other questions? Because I want to go then to the next field. This kind of education